in every issue.
This country has not seen this in 80 years.
This extraordinary moment in American history.
You're making such a huge impact.
Trust is at the heart of what we do.
You're watching New England Public Media on WGBY Springfield.
Christmas is my favorite time of year, and the real highlight is the food.
That is delicious.
Oh, Mary.
With my tips on planning, that's yet another job done. And what to cook. I promise you it works. You just trust me.
Just fabulous.
This is my ultimate guide to the most delicious Christmas ever. Absolutely scrumptious.
Mary Berry's Ultimate Christmas, December 19th on NEPM.
Coming up, we're connecting you with the creativity and culture in your community, including an artist who blends music and puppetry to delight his audiences.
I've heard parents say that they listen to my songs in the car even when the kids aren't around.
We'll introduce you to a program that offers culturally responsive training for responders.
Listening to people, hearing their stories, even when they don't buy things, it's part of my job, and I think that if I wasn't here, I don't know who would do it.
And the Franklin County Community Development Corporation gives a helping hand to local food producers.
Monday we might be making a hot fudge, Tuesday we might be making a pickled onion product, and Wednesday we might be making a pesto. It's different every single day.
Join us for those stories and more as we explore the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. Up next on Connecting Point.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for Connecting Point, your source for creativity, culture, and community. I'm Sitarist Bauer. Every week, we explore all that the region has to offer, and today we're coming to you from downtown Northampton, Massachusetts, right behind the iconic Thorns Marketplace. Northampton and the towns around it are a haven for all kinds of creatives and artists, including the one featured in our next story. With over 1,000 songs to his credit, Tom Knight has been performing his original interactive musical puppet show since 1988. He has performed at festivals, museums, and libraries across the country, as well as right here in Western Massachusetts. Producer Dave Frazier caught one of his shows and shares this story.
A book of good stories. There are a lot of folk singers with guitars. A lot of white old guys with guitars going around singing their songs. I think my songs are great, but at the same time, there aren't as many people going around doing musical puppet shows for kids. And I think doing music for kids and puppets is the best use of my skills in the world.
With a cartload of bins filled with instruments and props, Tom Knight makes his way into the West Springfield Public Library. Knight has been entertaining children and their grown-ups for more than 30 years. Using handmade puppets, catchy songs, and lots of audience participation, his unique blend of musicianship celebrates topics like reading, science, the environment, and bringing people together.
One of the things that somebody said about me was that I wasn't preachy, which I really like. And the messages I like to say are kind of embedded in stories. So one of the things that I talk about, for instance, is recycling. And so there's like a little bit of an environmental message, but it's in the context of this song about a kid and the garbage monster. And the garbage monster turns out to be made of recyclable things, and then the kid recycles the garbage monster. And so I like being able to kind of make my point through the story rather than, okay, kids, you need to recycle now, you know, which I don't know that that actually works. My shows are really built around my songs, which are short little stories. And so there aren't a lot of voices and characters necessarily in the piece, because it's my voice singing, telling the story. I find that doing kind of the shorter pieces really works well for young children with short attention spans. And I also like to do pieces where I'm standing up and moving around and getting the whole audience to stand up and move around because, you know, it's hard to sit on the ground for 45 minutes. So I appreciate that. And it's like, okay, we're all going to get up and move around now. And then we'll sit down and pay attention again some more. Here it is.
Knight recently released his 6th album entitled Look Both Ways. The new album takes its theme from the title song, which extols a basic safety rule while embracing the notion of viewing life from more than one perspective.
One of the new songs, actually the first single, is an old song that I wrote in 1992 called Alligator Jump. And I decided to redo it and do it as a bilingual Spanish song, actually. And then I hired Mica Farias Gomez to sing the Spanish part, and she's from Argentina. Well, I'm very proud of this new album, and it's fun to revisit some songs that I recorded from 1992 and two songs from 1989. It's just kind of nice to see how much I've grown, really, as a musician and a producer.
It's the Tom Knight Show. It's the Tom Knight Show.
In an effort to help parents and kids cope with the unprecedented situation of the global pandemic, Knight created the Tom Knight Show on YouTube, where he and his puppets sing and have fun.
One of the things that I like about what I do is that it is all homemade. You know, I write all the songs and I make all the puppets and I make the puppet stage. It has a certain homemade quality to it, even though it's not like completely polished and it's not what you can buy at Walmart. But I think that's a good thing, that it's unique and has a lot of charm, I find. You know, honestly, if I just played guitar and sang, if it was just guitar and vocals, most kids would probably be fine with that. But I also know that the adults are going to be listening to this music as much as anybody, and they might need something that has a little bit more depth and musical variation to it. One of the biggest compliments I've gotten is that I've heard parents say that they listen to my songs in the car even when the kids aren't around.
Every week, Connecting Point explores the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England, but it doesn't stop there. You can find us online anytime for exclusive features and content. And in this week's digital exclusive, in an effort to reach a larger audience, puppeteer Tom Knight broadened his skill set and taught himself how to edit his own videos so that he could post them on YouTube, as he explains to producer Dave Frazier.
You know, when I'm performing a show, I might have 100 people or 200 people or 20 people, whatever. You know, there's a limited number of people that can see me live. But if I can get something up on YouTube, then there's no limits. It can go all around the world.
I'm an alligator and little
You can find that digital exclusive online right now at nepm.org/connectingpoint. After experiencing firsthand some of the inequities that exist within the psychiatric system, Isabel Garcia founded Estoy Aquí, LLC, which addresses suicide and mental health by offering culturally responsive training to organizations serving Latino and Black communities. And this fall, Estoy Aquí partnered with medical students for a responder program entitled La Cultura Sana, or The Culture Cures. I spoke with Garcia and some students to learn more about the program.
Estoy Aquí, first of all, which is a professional development training service. I do workshops, trainings, panels, webinars, seminars, all about connecting the dots between mental health, suicide, and social justice. And so part of Estoy Aquí is La Cultura Sana, which means the culture cures. And that is where I offer peer support training to what I call cultural responders. And cultural responders are service workers like barbers, hairdressers, librarians, people that are in the community that are providing some form of mental health support, but that are not traditionally seen that way because they are not social workers or psychologists or psychiatrists. And so I thought, well, the very first question is, where are these cultural responders? Mm-hmm. And that is where Sarah and Michaela, who are part of the purge track, that's where they come in. And so they were able to answer that question by creating an entire directory based on Western Mass, but specifically also Springfield.
And so part of the design of this program included having some pop-ups at key locations. And I know, Isabel, you mentioned some of those cultural responders being at, salons, laundromats, bodegas. And so I know that during the 2 weeks, you all visited there. What was it like connecting with the community and being hands-on? What was their response to the students and to you all?
It was an amazing experience. I have goosebumps. And I remember a particular interaction was with a man who owns a small corner store in Springfield. And out of the blue, we decided to go in. We saw a lot of people coming in and out, and we realized that not a lot of people were buying things. It was a place where people were talking in Spanish. It was really the essence of what La Cultura Sana means, really the essence of cultural responders. So we started talking to the store owner, and he just said, it's part of my job, listening to people, hearing their stories, even when they don't buy things. It's part of my job. And I think that if I wasn't here, I don't know who would do it. And it was a really emotional experience.
Another really amazing opportunity that we got was to sit in on a training that Isabel was having with the Springfield Public Library. And it's a place where everyone and anyone, no matter how much money you have, you can go there. That's a free resource and such a powerful resource. And I think Isabel, basically that was such a awesome place to recognize as a cultural responder, because people don't often think of libraries as a place to get care, to get mental health care, but actually librarians do a lot of supporting with people and just helping them along their way, whether it's helping them with job applications or giving them a space to sit or giving them these free computers that they can use to do whatever they need to do. And so it's really great meeting librarians and doing the tough work of okay, how do you balance the really busy work you have as a librarian, but also extending a hand and being that support you can be for people who may rely on the libraries. And so that was also a really amazing experience.
No, it's also fascinating because these are people that we encounter every single day, and you really kind of take for granted the impact that they have on individuals. So it's really, really cool to see the strategy of giving them that training to be a cultural responder for mental health in the community. Isabel, you founded Estoy Aquí, and I know that you are a survivor of the psychiatric health system, and that's part of the reason why you founded this program. You're also a first-generation Dominican immigrant, and so you know the experience in these communities dealing with mental health. When it comes to mental health, what would you like for others to know and understand, especially when we're speaking about Black and Brown communities?
14 years ago, I moved to Springfield, directly to Springfield. Springfield is my second home, basically. 2 weeks or 3 weeks after moving to Springfield, Massachusetts, I actually ran away to Mercy Hospital. And that's when my hospitalization in the psychiatric system started. It became a cycle of hospitalizations. And during those hospitalizations and during my interactions with social workers and therapists and psychiatrists, I received a lot of violent responses, such as solitary confinement, microaggressions, physical restraints, just because I said that I wanted to die. However, one thing that I noticed throughout my time in the psychiatric system, mental health system, is that access is not enough. And when I say this, people are like, what do you mean? Because in public health, access is everything. They love to talk about, we need more access to therapists. We need more access to hospitals. But my thing is, what about looking beyond access? And so Estoy Aquí in La Cultura Sana, is basically saying, instead of just focusing on access and also on what's wrong with the community, the so-called gaps, let's look at what is working, because we do have a lot of strengths. That is where the cultural responders come in. So we are not filling in the gaps. We are increasing strengths. Something that is also part of La Cultura Sana is not just the peer support training, the cultural responder training, but also tabling. Tabling or pop-ups are central, because that's where we really meet the community with our app. And we start to ask questions and be curious. Hey, how do you feel about mental health care? Right? Like, what is that like? And we actually give out pamphlets that has information about how to talk about suicide, for instance. And I will love if Michaela and Sarah talked a little bit about their tabling experience during the 2 weeks.
We tabled in front of a social justice organization, and that was actually one of our first experiences being out in the community, and it was a very eye-opening experience, something I learned a lot from. And the theme that kept coming up when we talked to people is that a lot of people don't feel safe talking about their mental health anywhere in Springfield. And that's a big statement to say, like, they don't feel safe anywhere in the city to talk about. And it really made us reflect about how important Isabel's mission is to kind of enhance those community strengths so that people can feel comfortable talking about their mental health to, someone, like if they're getting a haircut, if they're going to the library, if they're going to the grocery store, anywhere they're going, like, we should all feel really comfortable talking about our mental health and seeking support from each other.
As any entrepreneur will tell you, a helping hand is always appreciated when starting out. Located in the warehouse of the Franklin County Community Development Corporation is the Western Massachusetts Food Processing Center, where they have been known to provide that helping hand to local food producers over the past 20 years. Connecting Point's Brian Sullivan visited the center in Greenfield and brings us the story.
As the sun tries to make its way up over 324 Wells Street in Greenfield, within the confines of this old warehouse building, there's already a crew hard at work. This is the Western Massachusetts Food Processing Center, an operation of the Franklin County Community Development Corporation. And while on the surface it may appear to be just a micro-assembly line, there is a much bigger purpose being addressed, in particular for local farmers and budding entrepreneurs looking to get their product out to market, but needing the production capabilities to do so.
Food entrepreneurs often come to us with an idea and they don't really understand how they're going to actually make it happen. So the manufacturing end of things can be a little confusing for people. So we like to invite them into the kitchen to see the space, to understand the equipment that we're working with, and start to think about scalability of the product, right? So we're not going to be making a product in a 5-gallon stock pot on our kitchen stovetop forever. Eventually we're going to want to scale up and make a few thousand units at a time, 10,000 units at a time. So we try to sort of demystify some of that, like what is food manufacturing, what's involved, and what does scalability look like for a small business.
When we dropped in, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, as the order for the day was onions, lots of them. But each day often presents a new product, and thanks to some in-depth training and preparation, the team is always up to the task.
Monday we might be making a hot fudge, Tuesday we might be making a pickled onion product, and Wednesday we might be making a pesto. It's different every single day, and we support entrepreneurs all the way from Connecticut to northern Maine to New York City, and then we have some folks right here from Greenfield as well.
So who exactly is this well-oiled machine processing all of this food? The FCCDC hires through a temp agency, and in the case of the kitchen here, through the local sheriff's department. Upon release from incarceration, they're brought on as temps, looking to get a second chance. And judging by the rate of retention, it seems to be working.
Well, we've spent a lot of time cultivating a really good team. And so at this point, we've had 6 crew members who've been with us for a couple of years. So they're invested. They're passionate about the products that they're making. They're really excited to support the entrepreneurs that we come to know and love over years of working with them. And then we just have an awesome leadership team here. So our Director of Operations, Liz Buxton, does a great job sort of cultivating that culture in which people feel comfortable coming forward with issues and feel comfortable presenting new solutions for doing something differently and doing something better.
While the food processing center may get the lion's share of the attention because, well, they've been here for over 20 years, one detail that shouldn't be overlooked about this operation is that this place has been a hub for entrepreneurs of all stripes. The folks at Catalyst Kombucha are a perfect example. They've been using this space here for several years to manufacture their product.
We are a lot of things. We are a small business incubator space, and so what you see from the road when you drive in is our venture center and our food processing center. So we have businesses who get started with us by renting space, and they are able to rent at a lower cost, and so then they're able to grow and eventually move out and get facilities of their own.
Chances are, if there's a local business in Franklin County and some of the surrounding areas that started small and needed financing along the way, they came through the FCCDC. The annual budget here is $2.7 million, and they've got their sights set on a target of $400,000 in donations this year in order to keep it up and running.
We have a lot of balls in play here when it comes to finances. We have a few key financing streams, donations, being one of them. We have income from our food processing center, income from our tenants, and then we rely on grants through the federal government, the state government, and so all those pieces play together so that we can comfortably know that our operations are strong and will be here for many years to come.
And if you enjoyed that story, you can find more online as the Food Entrepreneurship Program Manager discusses how her passion for local farming led to her career at the Franklin County Community Development Corporation in a digital extra.
And food processing, food manufacturing is this often forgotten part of the local food system that is so important for local farms. We need to add value to produce in order for farmers to get a good profit margin for their products.
That digital extra is available online at nepm.org/connecting point. As a young girl in India, Veena Chandra was inspired to play music by her father. Since then, Chandra has garnered international recognition in the Hindustani classical music genre as a renowned sitarist, composer, and teacher. Chandra has passed down the love of music to her son Devesh, who joins her in performances playing the Indian hand drum tabla. I spoke with the mother and son duo to learn more about them and Hindustani classical music.
Hindustani classical music, first of all, is coming from India.
Yeah.
And it's coming from North India. So in India, we have sort of two forms of classical music. One is the Carnatic form, and that's in the south. And then we have Hindustani classical music, which is in the north.
North Indian.
So first of all, it's from the northern part of India, and the instruments we'll be playing in the performance are sitar, you see here, and tabla.
And just for clarification, can you explain what the tabla is?
Tabla is a pair of Indian drums. There's a right one, which is a higher one, and a lower one bass. And so it's a very unique instrument in that this is the right one. Yeah, this is the right one. And then there's a lower one, but it's a unique instrument in that everything that we play, we can say. So the music that we have is an oral tradition, is passed down generation to generation as a language. So when she's saying, my first words were dada tete, which were the syllables from the drums. Yeah. So it is a language, and we speak it. And really, when we're performing, we're really coming together and having a conversation. And one of the real special things about it is that we can't do that ever again. So it's a special moment in time, and we hope that people can join us for that.
Every time it's unique, even though we play the same rag, supposedly, and actual decision happens at the moment when we get on the stage. That when we look at this audience and see what is going to be most suitable for them to listen to at that point. But every time when we would perform any performance, it will be totally unique for that audience. how they inspire us or not inspire us or whatever, whatever happens at the moment, that's what it is.
I have to say that when I was watching some of your past performances, I wasn't expecting for myself to kind of get emotional when I was listening to it. I was like, wow, it's like really touching me.
Yeah.
And so I know that you've described that there's a triangular relationship between the artist, the art, and the audience. So can you expand on what that means and how you're able to connect the audience with the complexity of this music?
So like music is like, it's my part of my life. Without music, I think the great thing happened in my life is music. So my music and my life, both, they are together. And when I present it to the audience, and if they become, one with that, that's when we call what is it's like a secretion of a great feeling in them as well. Whatever we are feeling, they are also feeling. So that's the success of our performance. I would say, wow, they really feel it up here. We try to do everything that we can do to preserve our music. So we are trying very hard and to promote and also create interest, because a lot of people don't know what it is. They have never seen sitar, they've never seen a tabla, they've never heard this music. So our goal, we try very much to get them interested in it and kick off from there.
And that does it for this edition of Connecting Point. Remember, you can always find all of the stories that you saw in this episode, as well as exclusive features, digital-only content, and so much more online anytime at nepm.org/connectingpoint. Our thanks to the City of Northampton for hosting us today. And please be sure to join us again every week right here for more stories of the creativity, culture, and community that make us Western New England. I'm Sidalis Bauer. Thanks for watching and take care.
Support for Connecting Point is provided by our contributing viewers.
Hot air balloon, hot air balloon, drifting along, singing a song in a hot air balloon.
Love, look at the two of us.
The Carpenters return.
Don't you remember you told me you loved me, baby? Rainy days and Mondays always get me down.
Close to you, remembering the Carpenters.
That's coming up next on NEPM.
I had heard that the first person diagnosed with autism might still be alive, and he might be living in this small town in Mississippi.
Hey, Nat the cat. Hey, RC.
Well, hi, darling.
They didn't even know that Donald had autism. They just knew that Donald was Donald.
He's our guy.
I wanted to figure out, how did they get it right? Because they really did get it right.
In a Different Key, December 13th, or stream at nepm.org.
Developmentally, the early years in a child's life are so important because that's when they're absorbing the most information. Everything is new to them. As a parent, I love knowing that what they're watching on TV is sending a good message. I have been able to bring PBS learning media into my classroom. It's rewarding knowing that I've touched a family, touched a child, and made a difference in their life. And PBS is part of that.
He's one of the greatest film composers of all time. John Williams is joined by the prestigious Berlin Philharmonic. performing some of his most iconic music. John Williams, The Berlin Concert.
John Williams, The Berlin Concert, Friday night at 7:30 on NEPM.
Here's what's new this month with Passport.
There's been a terrible mistake. So close to cracking the case.
What's your next move? Leave it to me, please.
These and all your favorite shows are available with Passport. Support your PBS station and stream more with Passport.
You're watching New England Public Media, WGBY Springfield.
Christmas is my favorite time of year, and the real highlight is the food.
That is delicious.
Oh, Mary.
With my tips on planning, that's yet another job done. And what to cook. I promise you it works. You just trust me.
Just fabulous.
This is my ultimate guide to the most delicious Christmas ever. Absolutely scrumptious.
Mary Berry's Ultimate Christmas, December 19th on NEPM.